You're on 94.9. It is 14 minutes past 4. And it's that time of day for Creation Ministries International. And we've got Dr. John in the studio. Good afternoon, Dr. John.
Afternoon, Nick.
Dr. John was telling me he drives to Melbourne. He uses more fuel on the way home, though, because it's downhill on the way to Melbourne. That's right, isn't it?
That's what I've observed, Mick. I get better economy going down to Melbourne than coming back up to Sydney.
Yeah. I can't really figure that one out, but it's interesting. I wonder if it's got something to do with the way the Earth spins. It's still down and up. It's got nothing to do with the way the Earth spins.
Well, all I can say is it's better going down than coming.
Wow. All right. Well, we are going to talk about something pretty spun out. I think we're going to have a little chat about aliens, something to do with the news. Of course, we talk about stuff that people ask us when they send any questions in. And please, if you do have any questions for Dr. John, just send them through to our text line 0401 949 949. Now, Dr. John, there was some stuff in the, web news that was talking about aliens. And, of course, we know that, Earthlings have spent billions of dollars trying to find them. At this stage, we haven't done much good, though.
No, we haven't. And, of course, Creation Ministries has always had the view that aliens and alien civilizations don't exist. Mm-hmm. Well, now science has decided that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, I think it's great because, as you just said then, we've spent billions trying to find them. And, I'm a bit older than you, but I can remember the days back in the 1950s when Saturday afternoon you went to the flicks.
Yep.
And of course, all the movie places weren't like they are now. We've got 9 or 10 theatres or whatever. There was only the one theatre, a bit like Avoca,
Yep.
And there was only one movie on or a few shorts and things like that. And I can remember back in the 1950s, search for alien intelligence, and what they were doing was sending out the value of pi, because but pi doesn't ever end. It's 3.1415,
yes.
And so on, and they were sending that out into space in the hope that out there they would recognise it as a universal constant and come back with the rest of the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's been going on for a long time, and we've even put time capsules and things in some of the space probes that have gone out that are never going to come back. In the hope that some alien might capture them and whatever. But anyway, they've now decided that no, it's very, very unlikely.
Yes.
And that they've based that on there's an equation that they call the Drake equation. And
what is that?
It's named after a bloke called Frank Drake.
Okay.
Not Sir Francis Drake, who was playing bowls for when the Spanish Armada sailed up the English Channel, but he was probably named after him.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, his name was Frank Drake. And he produced an equation that suggested that there must have been, could have been thousands, hundreds of thousands of potential alien planets where life might exist.
And what was his number based on?
He had a whole lot of different things that he put into the formula, and a lot of people said, it's an overestimate or maybe even an underestimate. But there was always this other thing that they called the Fermi paradox, which was if there are hundreds of thousands of these alien civilizations out there, why haven't we ever had a response?
Yes.
So anyway, the researchers decided that they'd better have a look into that, and they have scaled the Drake equation right back, and they've decided that the reason why there aren't any or may not be any alien civilizations out there is because Earth really is unique. And what Earth has got, which apparently they think is necessary for life to evolve, and bear in mind they only believe the aliens might be out there because they believe in evolution. You know, because their reasoning is, well, you know, if life evolved on Earth, then surely if there's Earth-like planets out there, life is going to evolve out there. They don't recognise any need for a creator. But when you look at the Earth, apparently they've decided that you've got to have oceans and continents and tectonic plates. Now, they've said that.
That's the Goldilocks sort of planet.
That is the Goldilocks planet. You've got to have oceans because you need water for life to evolve. You know, it can't evolve on land. And for higher life, civilized life to evolve, you've got to have fire and electricity. So you've got to have dry land.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I mean, I thought it was a fascinating article because they said it's generally agreed that, I don't know who generally agrees, but life began 3.8 billion years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't know who generally agrees with that.
I feel sorry for the guy that had to count it.
Yeah, that's right. And that higher life, including the earliest animals, only began about 1 billion years ago. So the start of life, 3.8 billion, but it took until 1 billion years ago for higher life to evolve, so they say. What was the reason for the delay? Why did it take so long?
Yes.
Well, apparently it took so long because you've got to have tectonic plates because they change the climate, and we can have seasons, and you know, all the varied ecological systems that we've got. You apparently can't have that if you don't have any tectonic plates. And they decided that Earth's tectonic plates only developed about 1,000 million years ago. Right. They don't say what was once a solid Earth crust, how that became a fractured Earth crust.
But they know when it happened.
No, but it happened 1 billion years ago. That's right. They know that for sure. That's generally accepted.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so anyway, apparently with all of these exoplanets that they have discovered out there, they can't really find any with good oceans and good continents and good tectonic plates. So, and if they don't have that, then life's not going to evolve. So really, they see that Earth is pretty unusual.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we've been saying that all the time, haven't we? You know, that Earth is very, very unusual, that it is unique, and of course it was created that way by God. And and life didn't begin here 3.8 billion years ago. It began here about 6,000 years ago when God created it. So really, we've always said that aliens do not exist. And the reason we say that is because of Jesus. Because if we acknowledge that Adam and Eve were the first humans and they sinned, and that was the fall, and the whole of creation, the whole universe has been corrupted because of that. Well, if there were little green men on some other planet, then they would be suffering from the effects of the fall on Earth.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit unfair, isn't it? You know, and I mean, did they need a Jesus to go and save them? You know, well, no, we think Jesus only came to Earth to save us here on Earth.
Yes.
So really, that's probably the reason why Creation Ministries has always said, no, we don't believe in extraterrestrial life. But then you have this other problem that a lot of people claim to have had experiences of aliens, flying saucers. And
well, you see that in the news so often. You
that's
see
right.
Little pictures of these things. Admittedly, it's mostly black and white, but sometimes it's at night, in which case it's probably black and white.
Very good, Mick. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, well, sometimes it might be green and black, but it's not very colourful. But they do show things that can't be explained.
Well, that is true, and our position at Creation Ministries, particularly when you're talking about UFOs, is it may well be that a lot of the UFOs are man-made. I mean, what we really don't know is how much advanced technology is out there. We see things appear, new things, and we think, technology is advanced. But sometimes you can go back maybe 20, 30 years and the beginnings of it was there. So it is possible that a lot of the things are top secret, man-made type UFOs. But of course they also could be, and this is what we think about the aliens who've been observed, we believe that they are probably demonic manifestations.
Well, I remember when you guys put on a show out at Avoca Beach Picture Theatre, and they spoke about, going back a few hundred years, if somebody looked up and saw what we would say we saw a spaceship these days, a little round thing, they'd see like a ship, like a sailing ship type ship in the sky. And those, whatever they've seen has been something that has already existed on Earth. Yeah. And that's what people have seen. They're not disputing they've seen it, but it's interesting how its shape has changed depending on...
That's right. It was probably only in the late 1940s that we got to this saucer shape, with portholes and things all around it. So now what people see are flying saucers or other manifestations of light. And it is amazing what lasers can do, all the other sorts of things that we see. Anyway, look, we'll come back to that because there's a bit more to talk about the aliens.
Absolutely. We're with Dr. John from Creation Ministries International. We're talking about aliens. And if you have any questions, please send them through to our text line 0401 949 949. You are on 94.9. We've got Sam Rivera coming up next with a song called Let Go. It's 23 minutes to 5 and we have Dr. John in the studio from Creation Ministries International. Been talking to us a bit about aliens this afternoon. And I'm a little concerned because, like, when I was younger and I used to go on school trips, we used to sit around the fire and I'd talk to people and tell them about my experiences with, aliens and boogeymen and little green men with oversized heads. And if they're listening to you now, Dr. John, they're going to know that I was full of it.
They probably will, Mick. But look, we actually don't deny that a lot of people have had real experiences. They have seen what they believe are flying saucers, which could be man-made or other apparitions. And people have claimed to have been abducted by aliens. And
many people.
Yeah, lots of people. And one has to ask, well, are they telling the truth? And we believe they are. One of our speakers, Gary Bates, who you mentioned the movie that Creation Ministries put out, Alien Intrusion, he was behind that. He actually wrote a book by the same name. And he's made a lifelong, I suppose, hobby of delving into all of these claims. And he's interviewed hundreds of people who've actually had experiences. Mm-hmm. And he believes that they are demonic manifestations. And one of the things that is very interesting is that some people have used the name of Jesus, in their fear or terror, and the apparitions disappear.
Yes.
So that strongly suggests that they may be demonic.
It's a strong name, isn't it?
It is. And, of course, the other things that have been used to lend weight to aliens, the supposed bodies that have been found, and there were those little carcasses from Peru that turned out to be just a hodgepodge of animal bones and all, three-fingered things made up to look like little humanoid things. Well, there's never really been any proven little bodies like that. All these talk about the supposed alien spaceship that crashed in Roswell, and they're keeping from us that they had autopsies done on these bodies that were inside. We really don't believe that. What this latest scientific study has done really is backed up what Creation Ministries have always said, for completely different reasons. But we've always said it because we believe there's only been a single material creation, and that was about 6,000 years ago, not multiple billions of years ago. Yeah, so
I had an idea, Dr. John.
Yeah.
I mean, often when these things are supposedly found, they get sort of hidden away because they get given to the military. They throw them all at the military and say, well, you guys deal with it, and then they all disappear. So maybe we should get like a doctor that has had a lot to do with the military in here, and we'll talk to them and ask them sort of how many aliens they've been given. Oh, then again, we've got one. Dr. John,
I know what you're suggesting, Mick. Yeah, I'm Amex military, and I don't know of any aliens that we've done autopsies on. No, I don't.
And you were a pretty high-ranking doctor in the Navy as well.
Doesn't matter, Mick.
None landed in the ocean for you?
No.
No, okay. I just thought I'd check.
But look, there's another great story that I wanted to bring up today, if we're finished with the aliens, and this is a story about dinosaur fossils. Mm-hmm. In particular, a type of dinosaur called an ankylosaur, which was quite a not a huge dinosaur, but pretty big. They reckon probably weighed about 2 ton. So we're looking at about rhinoceros size, I suppose.
Yeah, wow.
But one of a lot of their fossils have been found in North America, particularly Alberta, Canada. And the curious thing was that one of the first blokes who ever researched them said what he'd observed was that most of the fossils were buried upside down. Anyway, a couple of researchers recently decided they'd go and have a look at that because they knew that that's what he'd said. And so they started looking at all of these ankylosaur fossils. Mm-hmm. And they looked at about 36 of them they found. And lo and behold, about 70% of them had been buried upside down. Now, what a strange thing, a 2-ton animal like that. It had very heavy bony armour on its back. Not quite like a stegosaurus, but it was, pretty heavily weighted on its back. And they couldn't work out why it might have been buried upside down. And there were lots of suggestions that maybe when it was dying, it turned turtle sort of thing and flipped over on its back, or maybe it had been rolled over by some predatory dinosaur, but they couldn't find any evidence of its belly parts being eaten or anything like that. Uh-huh. So they thought, now what is really going on here? Anyway, somebody came up with a suggestion that armadillos, because they're pretty armour-plated on the back, that they get turned over on their tummy when they die, on their back when they die. And so they started looking at all the armadillo roadkill around the place. And it didn't really seem to happen. There was no evidence that armadillo roadkill flipped over onto its back. So they then decided that maybe there was some truth in the idea that because it was overweighted on its back, that if it was in water, it might roll over that way as it bloated,
Yes,
it died, a bit of gas, so it would roll over on its back. So they started having a look at that, and lo and behold, that seemed to be the answer. Well, what do you know? Why would they have died in water?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
They must have all been next to the ocean.
Yeah, well, they were either all, well, yeah, but Alberta's not quite on the ocean.
No, I've been skiing there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, not too many beaches in Alberta. Yeah, but anyway, of course, what is the answer? Well, of course, we can come up with the idea that they must have rolled over in water as they bloated because they were in water. And it was a great flood.
Yes.
And then again, you have to work out why they would get buried. And, so they've rolled over in water, and then they get buried in this great wash of sediment. Sounds suspiciously like an event that's mentioned in the Bible, doesn't it?
Particularly if they're in the mountains, yes, it does.
Yeah, that's right. So there they were. They die in water, and of course the Bible tells us that all the animals that were not on the ark with Noah did just that. That they died in water, and then they got buried in the sort of sediment that would have been very, very commonplace, washing over them as the tides came and went. And so that explains why the fossils are in sediment and why they're upside down.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was really a great story, and one that we really ought to mention on this program.
I had someone recently had a bit of a dig at me in regards to Noah and the flood and the ark. And they said, so, what about all the insects, and what about all the, those little critters? I guessed at the answer thinking, well, maybe they just floated around on logs and sticks and piles of junk.
Well, that's right. And that's been demonstrated many, many times that because there was so much volcanic and tectonic activity at the time of the flood, earthquakes and the like, all the trees got uprooted, and there would have been thousands and thousands of log mats and things like that all over the place. And it's been demonstrated that a lot of animals have gone from one place to another on these sort of log mats. Mm. And that because Noah was only told to take land-dwelling, air-breathing animals on board the ark, he didn't have to worry about the spiders and the ants and all the other insects.
Yep.
They would have just fended for themselves in the food that he took on board, all the straw and the hay and all of that sort of stuff.
I can't imagine anything like a big, if there was such a thing as a big insect or any large insects, probably wouldn't have made it, because you imagine if there's no sort of mountains left and it's just all ocean, you get some pretty big storms out there. It would be stuff that could go into branches and into logs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, there would have been plenty of log mats. So the earth was covered in water all over, but plenty of log mats floating around on the surface. And there are some pretty big insects, stick insects are quite large and so on. But anyway, look, that's the one of the things that I want to talk about today, the aliens and that dinosaur discovery.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's all very, very interesting and confirming of what the Bible has always said.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, Dr. John, another couple of awesome weeks. Thank you so much. Admittedly, you've come in straight after we missed a week prior to you coming in. So, I know we've got somebody else from Creation Ministries next week, and I think it's Mark James. So that'll be exciting from New Zealand.
Yeah, no, well, that'll be great. And I'll be back again in about 3 weeks' time.
Awesome.
Or thereabouts.
We're looking forward to it. All right, thank you, Dr. John. You are on 94.9 this afternoon.